Hey, it's Monica. I'm Monica. I have an autoimmune disease called Ankylosing Spondylitis. And I guess kind of like the dinosaur, ankylosaur, kind of not. Anyway, I'm going to read something out of this book here. It's called Demystifying Disability. What to know, what to say, and how to be an ally, by Emily Ladau. I apologize if I mispronounced that last name. Apparent and non-apparent disabilities. Based on the way disability is portrayed in the media, it can easily fall into the assumption that disabled people look a certain way. But that's just not the case. While many disabilities do have specific physical features associated with them, it's important not to make assumptions about a person's disability, on a person's disability status based solely on how they look. Especially because not all disabilities are apparent. An apparent disability, or visible disability, is one that is noticeable to other people based on either outward appearance or communication. So you might see someone who has a physical features that are different from yours. Maybe you'll pass a person walking with an uneven gait. Someone could be rolling in a wheelchair or walking while holding a white cane in front of them. You might notice that a person has a limb difference and is wearing an artificial arm or leg, called a prosthetic. Or you could strike up a conversation with someone and hear that they have a stutter. All of these are examples of apparent disabilities. And non-apparent disability, or invisible disability, is something you likely cannot tell a person has when looking at them or communicating with them. Often, this means you won't even know a person has a non-apparent disability unless they tell you, which is their decision. It may be possible for people with invisible disabilities to pass as non-disabled, meaning that they're assumed not to be disabled because there are no outwardly signs that are noticeable. So for example, you might not be aware of somebody's learning disability or mental illness. And there are many physical disabilities, such as chronic pain, that can't be observed just by looking at a person. Additionally, the same disability can be apparent at certain times and invisible at others, depending on any number of circumstances, both within and outside the person's body. For instance, if you're communicating with me or my mom face to face, now this is the writer of the book, not me personally. For instance, if you're communicating with the author or her mom face to face in a quiet environment, you likely won't notice that we have hearing loss. But if we're trying to have a conversation in a loud restaurant, there's a good chance you'll be able to tell that we're not quite able to hear what you're saying. And actually, I can emphasize with this because I don't have great hearing either. When I was a kid, before my parents divorced, my dad would take me to the auto shop where he worked, really loud, and I was like toddler, so yeah, my hearing's not that great. But anyways, besides that, so back to the book. One type of disability is no more or less valid than any other type. Just because my disability is visible, which again is the author's point of view, the author, like even though you can see the author's visible disability, doesn't make it more legitimate than a disability that is not apparent. And no disability makes anyone more or less or a whole person. Some of those disabilities manifest in ways that impact them more severely than mine impacts me. For example, should never be regarded as less of a person. There are also temporary disabilities, such as broken bones, and acquired disabilities, like hearing loss, paralysis, and brain injuries. In fact, some people with disabilities like to refer to as non-disabled people as temporarily able-bodied, meaning that disability is something we'll most likely all experience at some point in our life. To most non-disabled people, the idea of becoming disabled is pretty scary, I get it. It's natural to fear the unknown, and it's tough to grapple with the idea that our bodies can change in ways beyond our control. Unfortunately, these fears often translate stigma against disabled people because it can be a challenge to accept that another person's reality may become one's own. This is why we need to have an open, honest conversation about disability. We need to reframe these fears and turn them into an understanding of disability as a part of the human experience. So, invisible disability. I have ankylosing spondylitis. It's a genetic disease. I am disabled because of this genetic disease. It's very painful. Some days it's hard for me to get out of bed. Sometimes it's hard for me to walk. I am medically and scientifically diagnosed with a genetic disease, meaning I have a gene on every one of my white T blood cells called the HLA-B27 gene. I have ankylosing spondylitis. Can you tell that I'm disabled? I am. And those of you that are watching that are also disabled or invisible disability and struggling, I believe you. Take it easy and be as well as you can possibly be.